Hi everybody, welcome to Archimarathon. We've got a treat for you today. This is the Finnish Lutheran Church here in Canberra
by
Roy Grounds.
Stereo.
Jinx, you can't talk for the rest of the show. Episode? Yeah, so it's all up to me.
Go for it.
As per usual. You just spoke, so I get to punch you. Oh!
So, tell us about Canberra.
You tell me about Canberra.
You told me not to speak.
All right, so 1961. So in 1961, there really wasn't that much in Canberra. There was a bit, but basically Canberra was just like this farm that after Melbourne and Sydney fought about who would be the capital of Australia, they just went, you know what, let's pick somewhere halfway, which Sydney people said, no, we want it closer to us. Yeah. And so then they just started putting these buildings all over these paddocks. There weren't even trees. They had to go and plant all these trees. So 1961, there wasn't much here. But Roy Grounds came and did a couple of very important bits of work. This being, I think, one of them. But it's largely unknown, isn't it?
No, I don't think many people know it.
It's good.
It's simple. It's simple but good.
Yep.
Why is it good?
Why is it good? Well, it's good because it shows somebody who is very confident with how they're going to execute something. They don't have to go and throw a whole lot of bells and whistles on it. But I think it's also good because there aren't really constraints here. Like, it is a bit of a spaceship. It could be anywhere because there's this symmetrical pattern. Basically, it sits on a corner, and a corner that won't be built out. So you've got, that's Mount Black, isn't it?
Black Mountain.
Black Mountain, and some sports fields. But because it is sort of free from any encumbrance, it means that that symmetrical plan that he's produced works really well. Because this front entry here, where you've got these double doors, which then goes through into this really clever double door into the inner sanctum, is identical to the other corner as well. So when you have a flock of people on a Sunday coming in 1961, because not many people go to church anymore, they could enter from both corners, which is something really lovely. Because the main sort of civic is over that way.
Behind you?
Yeah. Yeah, can you see it? And then you've got this corner, so you've got two different streets that service that one entry.
I didn't expect much. I thought it was just, oh yeah, here's a roof, there's a skylight, so what? But it turned out that so what is a lot better than I expected.
But it's timber, it's concrete block and asphalt tiles. So lightweight, easy. But it's doing a lot of work, which shows skill. This corner and that corner are identical, streets that way. These big roofs, you can see that there's basically no gutters here. Like, what the hell is happening with the water? And it turns out that there is just a huge box gutter in here that spits out to, that has this spitter that goes into this rock pool. There's one on the other side as well. But before we move on, Kev, we should talk about this structure, don't you reckon?
Yeah.
So each bay has this concrete block element
in the middle.
In the middle, so that leaves the corners open, so you can double door this side to double door that side. But the lining on the underside goes all the way right through to the inside of the church.
It's a bit hard to see now, but when we're inside, you can see it better.
And to allow the glazing to just go up and be frameless, you can see what he's actually done here. Roy Grounds has put this post out separate from that, which lines up with the concrete block wall, which means that you can hide steel in there and in there to free up the glazing to have no frame above it. Because everybody tries to cram everything into the one line. I need this to be the waterproofing line, the structural line, the glazing line. He's actually separated it, and the only giveaway is one little post.
And sometimes the most joyful things is when you separate these different functions.
Make it really clear. This structural move has then allowed the rafters to continue out to give you this big overhang, which is completely structurally free. Concrete block in the centre, concrete block in the centre, open corner, and then identical at that end. Path leading up onto that one, exactly the same as the path leading through here. So you wouldn't walk this way typically. There's the spitter into the rock pond.
Here's the other corner. currently all blocked off because of the bookshelves.
Yeah, but exactly the same setup. And these beautiful sort of this we need to point out as well, is the concrete pad is pretty much lined up with where the concrete block walls start. So the sort of transparency and the openness of the corners is met with this really strong foundation, but then it dives off into garden. So you think about people arriving for Sunday service, they get to congregate here, have a chat, get to chat with each other, and then go into that in-between space.
What's interesting also, the tapering up there, yeah, it's roughly not the same because there's steps, but it's almost felt like there's a reciprocal angle to it.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Where the concrete, this heaviness of these in-between concrete structures is, behind that is actually glazing. So you get bright light coming into the corner spaces, but then you get this much more controlled light because you've got glazing right behind there. But yeah, these aren't complete blocks.
Yeah, the C-shapes.
Aren't these lintel blocks? Aren't you meant to, I think these are structural lintel blocks. You're actually meant to sit them up the other way and fill them full of concrete and Rio bars. If I'm right, these have a different purpose, and Roy Grounds has grabbed them and gone, let's use them here as breeze blocks. Is that right? Leave a comment, tell me. There's where Kevin slept last night. And so this is then the back of the church.
Oh, this is a straight blank wall.
Yeah, just really simple.
Oh, because this doesn't have the bay, because that bay now has, inside is actually the altar.
Yeah, that's right. And it's interesting, I don't know why they've done it, but you've got just a stacked bond on here. So they've kept it really simple. They've changed the bond.
That's the same as the blocks.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just there around the corner. Oh, okay, yeah.
Stacked and stretcher.
Oh.
It is actually like there's just this giant roof and then they've put 3 other buildings inside.
Yeah.
And then allowed the spaces to just bleed between them. Simple. This is definitely one, Kev, you need to do for Archie Draw. I can get some sections through there and draw the plan. Students would learn a lot.
Hmm.
So we've just come in the front door. It's not really a front door because it's a donut. There's multiple ways to get in. But you can already here we're getting a hint of what's going on in terms of the plan. That you've got these solid elements and the corners are open. And that in most areas you've got glazing that allows you to see through all of these spaces, buried up into the timber.
I guess the main thing is the spire, so you can constantly see the spire.
Yeah, even from the outside, you follow the roof line through all of the glazing and you follow the timber and you can see that spire. And you probably notice this. So this is the sort of the front entry and there's a little servery there and a kitchen behind there. So this can be a place to have some scones and things like that. A little, what would you call that, Kev?
It's like a meeting room. Yeah, but it's really an extension of the church
exactly.
Space as well, congregation space.
And then how awesome is this, Kev? So you can open both those doors up.
Yeah, originally that would, oh, look.
Lines up. Kevin's favourite thing. Things lining up. Oh.
And likewise there then, when that opened, it would have lined up as well.
Oh yeah, lined up over there. And you look at the structural solution, instead of having steel columns in the corner, they've got pairs of columns and this continual steel ring beam, which internally you'll see that it follows through and hits the brickwork, which means that you can free up these corners to walk in and out, but also free up the glazing line as well. Very clever. Are you coming in?
Yeah.
And so incredibly symmetrical. You can see on this side where you've got these 2 steel columns and they're just free standing. On the other end, they're used for those doors that we just came through to open out the entire corner. So everywhere you look is the same structural solution. The doors that we just came in, there's also matching doors on that side. So if you have a big congregation, you can also open up those doors. And then you can, this spills open as well. So you get much more space. And you can open those curtains and there's glazing behind that.
What's interesting also is the light. The light, apart from the obvious spire, there is light, I guess, in the top corners, in those corners. So it really frees up the space, and you can see that continuation of that ceiling line all the way through, all the way to the outside.
To the outside through 2 layers of glass to the outside.
Yeah, this church is a little known, I think, compared to many other buildings in Canberra. And we're lucky enough to be let inside.
Very lucky. This is incredible. The other thing about the glazing is, as you would have seen from the outside, is that it's got blocks over a lot of the glazing, which...
Oh, that's quite beautiful, actually.
It looks good, but I just don't know why you do it, because whenever we have that idea in the office, we usually get rid of it, because how the hell do you clean the glass?
Yeah. You can inward open there, and then you squeegee the bottom bit or something.
Yeah, but all really light timber frame and single glazing, so it's not warm.
No, it's very cold in here, which is not very good for the Finnish community, who are already complaining about how uninsulated our buildings are.
Yeah, look at the splash of light, Kev.
Yeah.
Coming in through here. So we came in through that side. It's exactly the same setup in here, double doors going through to opening corners. But at the moment, this is set up as a library, but you can see where there are the original doors on the side there, and I assume here. And then this, they've taken the door handles off, but this can do the same thing, open that up. I don't know whether this is original. Probably is, but this is not present in the other entry.
And it doesn't line up with the outside post. I mean, you know, it's higher than...
Yeah, I don't think this is original, but it's obviously been used as a way to put
light in the middle without messing around the ceiling.
Yeah.
What are those things? Are there lights with the metal grill on it?
Yeah. I don't remember those in the other entry. And I also wonder whether that was painted originally on the outside. Doesn't seem to make sense.
No.
To go to all that trouble of having frameless glass and the timber going through and for them to change the colour. And that's essentially it, is a square within a square, steel structure opening up corners, and it's just freestanding object, very symmetrical and simple. So we just went into the front 2 corners, which have the double doors in them, and then the opening corners. That's
one's an entry, and the other one is the library?
Yeah, it is the library now, but it could also be used originally as an entry.
Yeah.
Because it was off the main street, so you could come in both ways.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so they've retrofitted it. But these 2 back corners, the same structural setup, but this one's a community room and the other one's an office space. But you can see that it's a different setup. It doesn't have that corner entry, and these really serve the main space in the centre and have a much stronger connection to the outside than the other spaces.
And the corners are the clear glaze, all 4 corners? Whereas the service block area in the middle has the concrete blocks.
Yeah.
The breeze blocks.
Which is that whole section there. And so toilets and kitchen and things like that. This also has its own discrete entry, which is great, in through there. But that can bring you straight into the main church as well. The same structural setup and frameless glazing going in. Do you reckon that was heating in there through that grill?
Oh yeah.
And then that runs all the way through and just straight past the glazing.
And then again, always the reference back to the main skylight. God
is watching you. We've said a few times on this trip, this is full of lessons. There's so much to learn here. There's so much maturity, restraint, and experience. You can just see Roy Grounds has built some very complex buildings and just got, this is just what you need here, and set up these very simple rules. We always talk about our rules, and they just work. You just see how for a community space it just works. You can open up the entire corners, let people flow in and out, and then when it's time to concentrate, shut it down. Concentrate. The acoustics are pretty great, aren't they?
Mm.
The other thing that's often said is that a lack of funding can sometimes be the best way to protect a place.
What do you mean?
So I don't believe this has any heritage protection on it.
I doubt it.
So what it means is that often a building will get stuck in its time because there hasn't been any money to upgrade it, to pimp it out. And then so often when you see that happen, whoever's spent more money on the building hasn't understood the original premise of the building. So therefore it can make some fundamental mistakes, like start to chop out some of this steel, remove some of the glass and put in some chunkier frames or something like that.
Yeah.
Where because there hasn't been a huge amount of funding for the church, it means that little bits they've done are very temporary and you can peel them away and reveal the original skin of the building.
It's really quite calming. At first I wasn't quite convinced of this yellow light, and I think being here for a little bit, your eyes adjust to the colour, and it's actually quite a calming sort of afternoon light kind of quality.
Yeah.
Quite peaceful.
There's something amazing about, about churches. Obviously over centuries they've been designed to really manipulate us. But Alain de Botton, who we refer to a lot, talks about religion for atheists. And you can imagine it's a space like this that once a week on a Sunday, bring the community together and everybody just stop, chill out, and let's talk about some bigger issues, some bigger things, instead of just the everyday stuff. And so you talk about the yellow light. There is something about this, the acoustics and that light that just puts you in a bit of a mellow state. All done through architecture.
I think we talked about this on our Shrine of Remembrance episode. So that's the Scarlet.
Oh, yeah.
Where this idea of sacredness, it's somewhere, for some reason, you just felt like you want to whisper.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about this place. I mean, yes, it is a church, but something about it beyond just the function of the church makes you want to whisper. I feel like I'm talking too loud already. Luckily, we have mics. But you're kind of half whispering as well.
Yeah. No, you can feel it. Like even that entry space, the doors thrown open, the little kitchenette there with the servery. You can imagine it being bustling, chat. Oh, how are you going? What's been going on this week? And then it's like, okay, everybody, time to have a chat about some bigger issues. And you'd come in here, and the volume and the change in sound would make you start to just lower your voice.
And colour, because the altar corners, you can see there, they are natural daylight. They're quite white. But in here, it's just got a completely different ambience.
Do you reckon with the yellow light, it also makes me wonder about this sort of aqua green, because they actually work together.
Yeah.
Do you reckon this couldn't be original? Carpet can't last that long, can it? Because this was 1961, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know.
So this is a pretty early bit of Roy Grounds shenanigans. This is before the NGV. This is before a lot of his stuff. This is a general comment. It's definitely not across the board, but there's a lot of architecture that is interested in the skin, which is fine. That's an appropriate way to explore space, but with almost a cluelessness about structure. Throughout our whole trip in Canberra, just looking at very simple, rational moves with structure that are emotive. These are create an emotional response, the way that he set up this broken corner structural grid.
I think another thing about mid-century designs is you just see how simple something can be done. Even joinery and things, it's like, that's it, that's all you need.
Yeah.
Why are we so complicated now?
Yeah.
It's just refreshing to see, that's it, it's hinge and...
Yeah.
But it's the bigger thinking about it, I think that makes it great than the bells and whistles of all these special hinges and all these kind of details and materials that makes all the difference. It just got a certain rigor, I think, in the way that they execute it. But there's also amazing simplicity that it's refreshing to see, I think, especially coming from Melbourne, or the age of parametricism of crazy gymnastics.
Fractals.
Yeah. See ya.